Welcome back to Einsteinmediacenter, your one-stop shop for all unnecessary media dissection. Today we are joined by a very special guest as always. Please give a big welcome to the post-hardcore band, Humble Abode. How you guys doing?
Feeling good.
Hey,
Well, thanks. Great.
Awesome. Do you mind just going around introducing yourselves and then giving a little bit of history of who you are, kind of your musical journey and what brought the band together and up until this point in 2025?
I'm Danny. I do vocals in Humble Abode. I sing and scream and do the thing.
I'm Leon. I play guitar.
Kieran, I also play guitar.
I'm Fab. I play bass.
And then not here, we also have a drummer, Jackson. He's sleeping.
He has been traveling the world, so he's not here, but yeah. His name is Jackson. He's a great drummer. We love him.
Yeah, we love him. He engineers for us as well, so he records and engineers for us. So we miss him dearly, but he needs to sleep.
So can you give a little bit of background about how the band got together? I know you guys are, I'll say, relatively recently formed, so maybe how you all got together and then what led up to the recording of your debut album.
All right, I'll give you the quick version of the lore of Humble Abode, for those who may care about it. We originally formed with a totally different lineup that was very short-lived in like 2018, 2019. That version of the lineup put out an EP called Manic Mansion. That form of the band quickly fell apart. Due to various circumstances, but luckily in like the winter of like 2020, 2021, I decided to slide into Leon's DMs because I was trying to, look for a new guitarist and try to get the band back on track. Leon ended up being a perfect fit, and then we had a few other little lineup thingies going on. But like the real version of the band and what we are now was pretty much solidified in like early 2022. Leon was also in another band and jamming with some other people, Jackson, and we kind of just came together and we wanted to make some sick post-hardcore tunes. So I would say, yeah, like around like 2022-ish. That's whenever like this version really started to come together. Shortly after, we added Fab on bass. Kieran came on board like I guess that was after the album dropped.
It was right after.
Right after it dropped in 2024. Dead air. Okay, but anyway. Yeah, we've been together. I mean, Leon and I have been like together since like 2022-ish, and then Leon was in another project and knew some other really good musicians, and we ended up kind of combining the remnants of the original Humble Abode, which was pretty much just me. And then Leon joined, and the rest is history. We started making music together, our album Cemetery Symmetry came out in April of 2024. We had been writing that and demoing it out for, a couple of years before it came out. So like really it started kind of in like 2022 is when it really, really became a thing. And like was solidified after the album came out once we had Kieran join. So that's how we came to be.
But yeah, I kind of just already knew Jackson, and he's a very solid drummer, and he can record his own demos and he can do it quickly. So I tend to bring him into everything that I do because he's really, really solid and reliable and can tackle whatever I hand to him. And just happened to, I felt like a recruiter. I felt like I was just kind of grabbing people and bringing them in.
With the Avengers.
Yeah. Precisely.
And are you like a drummer where you always have like 7 projects you're into?
God. Yes. I currently am I have one kind of more defunct. We had I had one band that I was in called Ready Stranger, where the sole songwriter had a baby, and that makes things hard. He continues to write, but he actually wrote a lot of the bass for the album. I'll say that. Alex Mercado, he's a very talented songwriter, so he helped a lot with writing bass. But yeah, I was in that project. Jackson was in that, and then I'm in another project called Tahoe Alien, which Jackson also drums for. So I just kind of every direction that I go in, I bring Jackson along with me.
So then, can you guys talk a little bit about writing your album, maybe what that writing process was like, and then Danny, I guess for you, how that differed from writing those original EP songs?
Like most of our songs start out, Leon is the guitar wizard and will write like a bunch of really, really awesome riffs, and like will basically give us like a song idea. You know, a lot of the time, some of the time, you know, that'll just like be the foundation of the song. And then, you know, once we all kind of give our stamp of approval, we'll send it out to Jackson for drums. Sometimes I'll kind of take the structure and kind of chop it up and be like, this part's really cool, but like we should bring it back. Or like this part should be like shorter and then we should bring it back two more times, yada yada. I'll do kind of like a structure surgery. And then we'll kind of like bounce it around, and I'll kind of contribute on like, yeah, that part's really cool, but like, I don't know, Danny, we probably shouldn't cut that. That's actually really cool. And I'm like, yeah, I like, so sometimes, you know, it's kind of like a collaborative effort, but usually like Leon will kind of have the riffs and all the parts. I'll say sometimes we actually will jam in person, which is awesome. That I'll touch on that later, but yeah, I would say basically Leon usually will kind of come with some riffs and we'll guitar pro it out, and I'll do some structure surgery. And then once that's done, Jackson will add drums. And then once it's like fleshed out enough, sometimes we'll add bass before I do vocals. But usually at that point, I can start demoing out my vocals to, you know, to the skeleton at least of the song. I will say it definitely changed. I mean, the era before that like those songs were kind of like written before I joined the band, and before any of these guys were in the band. So that's kind of like a total different era, which is not really super worth touching on now. But I'll say the biggest difference in our writing process happened between when we put Cemetery out to the new record that we're working on. Because Cemetery was like a very disconnected kind of like, it was very much like a remote job, where we were pretty much never meeting in person. Everything was kind of disconnected, demoed out separately. But I will say, for the new songs we've been writing, we've been actually meeting up at Jackson's house, jamming them out, which really helps to iron out the kinks, and playing some of those songs live at shows, which really puts them to the test. And then we can go back and like revisit those parts and see like, oh, I really like that part live, or like this part sucked to play live. We should, you know, just kind of figuring out the best version of the song and actually being able to take it for a test drive. I think it's really helped a lot.
And to touch on that too, like Kieran and I being newcomers to the band, Cemetery we didn't have any parts on that. Like they were already like pre-recorded and everything. Like Leon was saying, their old bassist had everything out. So it's even more awesome now coming in and being able to like get those parts on. It really changes our style. Lets us be a little more ambitious, but still keeping that core foundation.
And just to touch on something that Danny said, my songwriting process, if you care to know, I do usually just start with a riff, and I like to. I work better when I'm able to kind of visualize everything. So I'll either record it or I'll plot it out in Guitar Pro, and generally I'll have like a riff, or I'll have something that I've looped on my looper pedal. I'm very linear. I'm very linear when I'm thinking about songs, so it's helpful to have input when I'm writing because, like Danny has said, he can chop things up and be like, okay, let's bring this back. I used to write songs. I mean, if you go on my SoundCloud, it was all just like A, B, C, D, E, F, G songs where I was like, I don't need to return anything. I mean, it kind of like old Dance Gavin Dance. It was a lot of everything. Every part was kind of a new part, and they would have a returning chorus maybe, but otherwise they're just pumping out new sections. But I think it's helpful to have my bandmates. I really appreciate my bandmates' input because it helps me. My brain musically can be kind of scattered and chaotic, so having other people to give me their input is good for the music. I think it makes it turn out a lot better, and also I want everybody to feel like they have like they've put their touch on it. So yeah.
So when you come with all these riffs, are you ever like presenting, whether it be 2 or 3 or 4 different riffs that could be potentially for a different song, but then somebody in the band is like, hey, actually we can pull this in here, and it could be a chorus or a second verse or a bridge for this other song that we've been working on already? How does that ever happen? And if so, like, how does that really work for you?
I would say that happens sometimes, or we're working on like a part that we've jammed into. I mean, I admittedly love jamming. I love improvising, and I could spend probably the entire practice doing that. So sometimes we'll land on something that we think, okay, maybe we could fit it into the song we're currently working on, or maybe it could go into something that we already have. But oftentimes I feel like we're really trying to finish things. So it can be difficult and especially because we don't have a producer outside, right? Jackson is our producer for the most part. So it can be difficult to go and surgically insert a part into a song that we've considered already finished, And I think that some other bands write entirely together. I think it's just more efficient and more, and by together, I mean in person. I think it's more efficient because we all have very busy lives and different things to attend to. It can be difficult to carve out that time to get together and really workshop things. But when we do get the chance, yeah, sometimes the part will come up and we'll be able to insert it into whatever we're currently working on, or maybe save it for something else. But yeah, I love finding something that feels really good in the moment. And then I have so many videos of band jams. So, sometimes I'll just go back and check things out. I know that there's a part. Sorry.
I was going to say, it's like strategic jamming. Like, you'll come to a practice with like, I started this riff. Sometimes it's spur of the moment though. So yeah. I would say sometimes it's like, I mean, I'm not playing instruments in this band, but I would say like, from what I've witnessed, sometimes I'll just see like a jam start from like Leon will be noodling around and like, maybe it's a riff you already started or, a little thing you came up with on the spot, who knows? But then it's like, everyone else will start joining in. And then, we'll have like a rough, and then it's like, wait, are we recording this? Like, let's come back. Yeah. And sometimes we just have like, some cool little parts and like we're working on like a heavy, like a little more heavy hardcore kind of influence song. So like we've been kind of jamming that at the last few practices. Mm-hmm. But yeah, sometimes it's Guitar Pro, like totally like remote. Sometimes it's a riff that spawns a jam at practice. So it's like a little, like we don't really have like a specific formula, at least for the instrumentals, which I think is cool because it kind of, we have some room for creativity and like spur of the moment stuff.
And I'll say there's a riff that Kieran wrote that I really, really like that I've been trying to like transplant. I think we talked about transplanting it into the heavy song that we have. So yeah, there are things like that. Like Kieran has some really cool riffs that I want to work into the next album. We just already had some material written when Kieran joined. So I'm just trying to like find a way for us to take those great parts and put it into the album or expand on them. So
people are busy, which is great because everyone has a life, but also kind of sucks when we're trying to write music because sometimes, like recently, Leon sent over part of the heavy song that he wrote. And then we were going back and forth on breakdown ideas. And it's already 10 p.m. for me as I'm starting to sit down and write and record and whatnot. And so by the time I can get it back to him, it's midnight. And so it can be somewhat challenging in that regard, especially because Jackson's house is our safe space. And if Jackson's in Denmark, for example,
Later.
yeah, that can be extremely challenging. Not that we can't go to each other's houses, but all of our recording equipment is there and amps and whatnot. And so it can be, it's an interesting challenge to try and work around that remote aspect of the band.
I think we should all quit our jobs.
That's smart.
I'm just the bassist. They let me out of the closet and out of my chains. They're just like, you're free.
And we turn his volume all the way down.
I find it interesting that you kind of were talking about that when you're all together. And Leon, you said you really like to jam and do a lot of improvisational work. Do you have like an interest in whether it be like jazz or like jam bands or improvisational music in general? Like what kind of inspires that for you?
I really like Covet. I really like Yvette Young's work. I think she's super creative. I know that she doesn't like improvising though, which I find very interesting. I've heard her talk about that. And I took a guitar lesson with her many years ago, like at one show. And I remember being like, okay, for the last like 10 minutes, can we just jam? And I remember her saying something like, she was like uncomfortable with the idea. Maybe she's changed, who knows? But that blew my mind because there's nothing more that I want than to just like spend 10 minutes noodling and just kind of seeing where something goes. Because some of the reason that I love music or what pulls me into it is there are moments where you feel a certain euphoria because you found a certain melody that fits so perfectly over whatever the rhythm guitar is doing, whatever the bassist is doing, whatever the drummer is doing. That is like next to being high. Like
You're in the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Bro, in the pocket.
yeah, no, but I really like I like jazz, but I think more, maybe like jazz fusion or like prog would be a better way to put it, because I'm not classically trained, I'm not jazz trained, but I really like Chon was a huge, it continues to be a huge inspiration to me, and I love the complexity of their chords and again, they're not a jam band, but yeah, I find a lot of inspiration in instrumental bands. So that might be where it comes from. Just seeing where a melody goes, where it takes you, and where it lands, and how it makes you feel.
I'll say also, like, as an observer and fan of your riffs, like having a balance of like melody, but also being technical, but not like self-indulgent, like this is how fast I can play. Like it's always like the focus is the melody and like how like the feel of the riffs. But it's also like you're a shredder, but like tasteful.
Well, you're gonna make me blush. And he never says these things to my face.
I mean, going back to the lore of like when I found like I discovered Leon. I didn't discover I'm good friends with shout out to Body Thief, another sick local band. But the guitarist Greg in Body Thief was like, hey man, I know you're looking for a guitarist, like you should hit up this guy Leon, like go check out his Instagram. And I was just like scrolling through Leon's Instagram and looking at all these riffs, and I was just like, wow, like this guy like is amazing. And yeah, I mean, so, like one of those songs actually became Mindful. Like I was like, we gotta make, anyway, I digress. But yeah, I think Leon has like a really cool approach to playing guitar where it's like very melodic and tastefully technical, tastefully progressive, but it's going to be catchy. And yeah.
And I will say the new music, I think when I wrote, and I don't know, maybe this would come up later, but when I was writing the LP, I was very mindful of what the EP had sounded like. And I was like, okay, I need to try to emulate this. I need to try to make something that sounds similar to the EP. I don't want to take this band away from that original sound. But for everything that we've written past the LP, I'm not really I'm just writing whatever I'd like to write at this point. Or, obviously with the band's approval, but I think this is much more just kind of natural songs that come from me, come from noodling, come from riffing. So I'm really excited about the new stuff because I think it's much more personal to my style. So I'm excited for people to hear that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped transition with like Kieran and I as well, like bring our style to the table. Like it's very on the rhythm side, at least with like bass and drums, it's not significantly different from Cemetery to Cemetery, but it's definitely some different styles in there. And we get a little jazzy here and there and throw our own flair. But again, it's like when we're in person jamming, it's just ideas we bounce off of each other. And more importantly, just feeling the chemistry with each other, like being in there and actually creating and just like really like getting lost in the sauce, essentially.
So can actually Kieran and Fab, can you like expand on that a little bit? Like some of maybe the influences that you guys bring that maybe weren't apparent prior to you joining the band. Like what are some of the new sounds that you think that you're bringing to this new LP?
Yeah, so in terms of bass, that's my second instrument. I started playing guitar. And in terms of influences, I started out with like typical just like rock, like AC/DC and Metallica. But then biggest influences would probably be Coheed and Cambria and Dance Gavin Dance. That one's probably the most apparent one. I mean, that's how we all kind of came together. But in terms of bass, I mean, I've been listening to a lot of like Skylar Accord, the bassist of or the old bassist of Issues. He's like a really big influence for me in terms of like, you know, like in terms of like rhythm and getting like heavy. And so like Thundercat and kind of just like a mix of just like all sorts of genres to bring like funk, but also bring like heavy elements to it as well.
I want to say I'm a little bit less orthodox. I didn't come into the post-hardcore scene until like basically when I was in college. So a lot of my influence comes from Tillian era Dance Gavin Dance, which I always get made fun of for. I quite like the angelic Tillian voice, and a lot of the leads of Will Swan from that era really just, I don't know, a lot of nostalgia for me. From post-hardcore sense, that's where like Swancore, that's where I draw a lot of inspiration from. So a lot of my leads are very just up on the neck and follow that sort of vibe. But more traditionally is like, I would not necessarily post-hardcore, but like Lamb of God, Veil of Maya, and Buried Amaro and Bleed From Within, like more just heavy metal sort of vibes. So that helps when we're writing heavier stuff, but I tend to find a lot of challenge around the process and thought of, well, how do we make a post-hardcore sound? Because the only thing that comes to my mind is angelic leads from Will Swan. So that can be a challenge, but it's been fun to kind of work around, and Leon's been really great to, like, we've been friends since as long as I can remember. And so it's always been great to sort of leech off of him as a guitar influence. So not big band, but also Leon is a great influence as well.
Also, don't feel bad. I literally have all the tab books here from the Tillian era.
I will say it is so helpful having Kieran have that background in like heavier metal, because I started playing guitar as a result of like metalcore. Like the first songs I really learned were like Memphis Mayfire and The Devil Wears Prada. I really like Paramore is my favorite band, one of my favorite bands at least. But I quickly went into the metalcore scene, and then and then math rock, and then prog, and then emo, and so I've been all around. Now I basically only listen to electronic music, but Kieran has been a huge help. Just getting back to the roots of metal and like hearing chugs, hearing breakdowns, like where can this go? How can we make this feel heavy? Because I'm such a little noodler and so focused on melody that it's difficult for me to. I'm not as much of a rhythm person. Like I can come up with some rhythms, but they don't come as naturally to me as they might for other people. And yeah, so Kieran's been a huge help. Same with Fab, huge help in just getting that rhythm down. And I will say, I'll speak for Jackson real quick. He came from reggae. He came from reggae, and we've put him in post-hardcore. And I always find that really, really funny how he started out as like a 311 man. And here we are.
If you listen to Mindful, it'll make more sense. Yeah, we love the island beats and the hi-hat and the dancey, we kind of forced him to be a proggy, whatever he is now. Not really. He's a natural lad. He's just a good drummer, but
yeah, he's great. But every time we're like, okay, but more double kick, and he's like, no, but he's great.
I will say he's close to mastering it now.
So Kieran, with you in the mix right on this one, are we going to get some more like drop C chugging on this upcoming album?
Probably not. We're exploring with drop D, and exploring is a very powerful word to cover up the fact that we're not doing too much outside of standard.
Bring an extra guitar.
Yeah. It hasn't. The heavy song will probably be the only drop D song. We might do another one, but as Leon said earlier, a lot of the band is sitting on a lot of material, and when Fab and myself came in too, we also brought a couple of songs ourselves. So there's a lot of picking and choosing that we have to do, and when there's like 11 babies in the room and they're all yours, it's hard to pick and choose. So hopefully we can get more drop D, but it's not like a big push for us at the moment, I'd say.
I'm not opposed, but I have floating bridge guitars, and I don't like down tuning on stage.
Yeah, that's also a big challenge for us.
You have to be at the point where you got multiple guitars and roadies to hand them to you.
Yeah, 2 guitars is like my max. That's already asking so much of me. And then I forget to bring a guitar stand on stage, and so I'm just like laying the guitar on this. It's a whole thing.
So to talk a little bit, going back to your live shows, you said something before where sometimes you will do something when you're playing live and you'll say, wow, that really worked, or that didn't work well. What's it like to almost workshop these songs in front of a crowd? And it's like, almost giving the audience like a version of the song that they may never hear again, where you either edit something going forward or switch something up. Like, what is that like? How does that process work for you guys?
What really helps a lot on the live end of things is interlude tracks. It really like just gives like a good stage performance. I mean, that's at least what I try to look at it from, like that perspective. It's you're giving a performance. You're up there. You're not only playing your music, but you're also entertaining people essentially. So like with me, like I play bass, and like not many people like really like pay much attention to basses, but I'll hop off stage and like get in the crowd and like really like get hyped and like just move a lot on stage without seeming obnoxious and like taking over, but like just enough to the point where like people will be like, oh shit, like dude, you were like down here with us, or like, oh dude, I remember that part where you jumped off your amp or something, just to make it memorable.
I think it's both exhilarating and terrifying is perhaps a good way to describe like the emotion of playing new music live. We've done a great job of making sure that we are all competent with the music. So like if we don't feel like we could do it live, we definitely take the stance of let's not botch it. But I think one thing we've talked about a little bit is like, will the crowd actually hear what we want them to hear? Like, will this come across as well as we think it will? And we've gotten feedback that yes, it has, but also I know sometimes that those people don't wear earplugs in at the show. So can they actually hear what we want them to hear? That can be the terrifying part, but it's been pretty successful thus far. And the interesting thing that you mentioned, like the song could change after they've heard it. And so it might be like almost a living being at that point that evolves over time, is something I hadn't considered before.
I really enjoy doing it or like workshopping songs live, because it helps us figure out where it's going to sit in the set list. There are certain songs I refuse to play directly after other songs because like I need my hand will cramp up, sincerely. So, I think it helps us figure out, okay, that was brutal to play after that one song, so let's put it somewhere else in the set list. But it also helps us figure out like, how can we tweak this for it to come across the way that it did on the studio album, or maybe how can we expand on this so that maybe it just sounds different live. Maybe the live recording just sounds different. Maybe I play a few different notes. I like that personally. I like when a band kind of expands on a song and adds something different when they're playing it live versus the studio. I'm coming to the live show for an experience. So if it's a little bit different, I mean, then all the more power to the band. So yeah, I think it just helps that way, and it helps see what the response is from the crowd, if they like it or not.
I would say, like, from a vocal standpoint, for the last record, like I was saying earlier, it was done totally remote. Like, I had never practiced a single one of those songs like all the way through in sequence, like at a practice or at a show before it was like recorded for real. And then it was like, all right, I got like, a lot of those songs, it was like, let me do this like really high part and the scream part and yada yada yada. And then it was like, how do you even attempt to perform that all in sequence and like figure out how to like ration your breath and all that stuff, the vocal technique. So we haven't played all the new songs live yet, but like we've practiced most of them, at least at Jackson's house in practice, and we've played, I guess, at least a couple of them live. But I'll say, from a vocal standpoint, it definitely helps me to like figure out, like, I don't want it to be like impossible to perform and just be like going like all out like 100% of the time. Like, it needs to be like something that's realistic to actually perform. Obviously, the studio version of a song is going to be like your ideal version of what the song is in your head, but having to perform it really, like, it kind of humbles you, because you're like, wow, I gotta like ration my breath, or I can't just be like blasting all out all the time. So I think it helps me with my approach to like writing the vocals in the studio before it's like, like, all right, here's the studio version. I have to figure out how to do this. I will say, obviously it's good to be ambitious, but you don't want to go too hard that it's like, someone hears a studio version and then it's like, oh, it's literally impossible to do this live. So I want to kind of split the difference, and actually performing it live, or at the very least practicing it in sequence, really, really helps you to figure that out. So, yeah.
Nice. That's really cool. I think it's funny. You guys holistically, like, in all of your answers there, brought a lot of different really interesting elements, whether it's like putting on a really good live show, making sure you'll be able to sing things properly, giving people a different experience from the album. I think that's like it's just fun to hear that, because it shows, I think, like how as a unit you guys are well-rounded and kind of complement each other. I think that's really nice. I want to ask a little bit about like what the rollout for this next album is going to be. But before we do that, Leon, I just have to say, a lot of the things that you've been saying, I just really think you would like jam bands. I'm not going to lie.
Oh man, show me some jam bands, okay? I think I need to see them live though. The thing is, I will listen to anything and enjoy it, or find something to enjoy from it. I'll go to any live show and find something to enjoy. I'm not the biggest fan of like country or bluegrass, but put it in front of me live and I will enjoy it. I guess the only thing is, like, I was in a band where for a whole year we would get together and practice and basically improvise every single time for like 3 hours and not actually practice the actual material. So I've been trying to tighten up. Okay, so don't put any ideas in my mind. I'm cleaning off the jam. Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about, what this new album is going to be looking like. Have you guys been able to lay down tracks or anything? Like, are you going to be able to release some singles, I guess, through the end of this year? And if you can spill about like what the release schedule is going to be for the upcoming album.
Big things coming, as they say. Not really. I mean, honestly, hopefully we can put out, I will say there will be some new music of some sort coming from us. I don't know if we can reveal it, but it's a little compilation thing we were a part of with some other sick bands. So yeah, we have about like 6 or 7 ish demos that are in various states of completion. I think we would like to release at least a single before the year's over. But at the very least, like, we know we're going to be putting out our next release, like, I would say in either Q1 or Q2 of next year, because we don't want to be sitting on these songs for any longer. Like, they're ready. Some of them have been, you know, started years ago at this point. Some of them we were sitting on, they were like not really finished from the cemetery sessions. There's a song that I had from like another project from years even before that. So we have a lot of material, and we're not really, we like want to follow up and not sit on stuff for too long. So I would say if all goes according to plan, we will be putting out a single later this year. And the actual thing, the whole package will be coming out either Q1 or Q2 of next year. I think that's pretty realistic for us. Obviously, we're all pretty, you know, we have, you know, our lives and our jobs and our relationships and whatnot and other projects, but like we got to kind of set some deadlines and personal goals for ourselves, and not like, we don't want to be too much of a like perfectionist. We don't want to like, you know.
Yeah.
Big
Long
things.
story short, yeah, new music will be coming soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Danny's been cracking the whip. Don't worry. We have a
All right.
spreadsheet. Okay. Everything's, yeah, no, I agree with Danny though. I really want to get, we have one song with all of the strings recorded. I mean, we can say that drums are there. I think we are, we want the vocals to be recorded and edited by our dear friend, Andy Sizik. And he's a busy guy too. So we just have to make sure that everything
get
can
the line.
align.
Stars align.
Yeah, the stars will align. But I'm confident and I'm excited. I really like the new material. So I want to get it out into the world, set our babies free.
Yeah, I think it's our definitely most ambitious. It's going to be our most ambitious record for sure in terms of like getting out of our comfort zone, but more importantly, like having Kieran and I on this record as well. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I love, you know, I love to hear that. I think it's going to be really interesting from a, you know, a listener perspective, hearing what the, you know, I guess having the old sound with the new influences from you and Kieran. I think that's really, really great when a band gets to do that and is like happy to have the new influences in there. If you guys really aren't part of that Baltimore scene and you don't really have a local scene of your own, what scene do you find yourselves playing in? Like when you guys are playing live shows, what is that like? Are you on bills with similar bands, other types of
Yeah, our goal is like, if there's anything that's like swancore related at all, like on the fringe or like anything, like we would love to be the opening band for that tour package. Like we've opened up for like Strawberry Girls a couple times. We opened up for Skylit Drive. Like Fab has also been on tour with Dance Gavin Dance and with Body Thief. So we kind of have like a little bit of an association with those kind of bands. So if any of those guys are on tour, we're like, hey, if you need an opening band, like let us know.
Kurt.
Yeah, we love Kurt Travis. Papa Kurt is awesome. So we're like very fringe related to that. Like,
yeah,
we get the scraps, and we're happy to get the scraps. There's not really like a huge like local swancore or post-hardcore thing that we're really like. I mean, Body Thief is like the band that's come out from Maryland who's like, but they're not really playing a ton of local gigs. So like, what they did play one earlier this year, and we played, and it was awesome. I mean, I don't know, other bands like Hue is really cool. They're like this kind of
shout out to the Hue homies.
Yeah, we love Hue. They're kind of more in DC though, but like, yeah, they're sick. I don't know like what's going on in the scene.
I'd say where we're at in terms of like our like scene, so to speak, we're pretty tight with a lot of local bands around here that are playing frequently, and we've made a lot of good connections. But where we're at now is trying to branch out a little bit more as well, get into the Philly scene, New York, and kind of work off of like weekenders whenever we can all do it. At least do like one a year or something like that, just to get ourselves out there a little bit more. I know
We also just haven't played many shows this year. Like we literally were like, we're taking a pause on shows to write, which we started around like April, and then like the summer hit, so like people are out of town and have plans. So like we honestly have been kind of slacking on shows. Well, like strategically slacking. But writing in the meantime. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like we're not like, yo, who's going down to like the spot for the show? Like there's gonna be like a sick show and all the kids are gonna be out there. I don't know. We're not necessarily like really keyed into that right now, to be perfectly honest. If it's happening, hit us up. But I don't know. I will say though, to piggyback off that, we are doing a show next month, September, at the brewery that I'm a manager at. So called Silver Branch Rockville Beer Works. So we're playing there. It's gonna be like the inaugural show. So we'll see how that goes. We're playing with this touring band called Added Color from Brooklyn, and then some local homies in Arcola. And then there's also this meadery across the street called Clear Skies. They're putting the taproom manager Max is putting together some sick like local shows there. But yeah, I don't know. We're trying to play more shows. Like once our kind of writing stuff is kind of calmed down, like we want to get back out there and play more shows. Like we've kind of, taken a little hiatus from really getting out there show wise. So
yeah, I think next year will definitely look a lot better for us as well. And we'll have new music out, and as bands are rolling in, we'll be able to hop on shows when we can.
I will say though, for the local scene, shout out Auto Bar. We love Auto Bar. Auto Bar is legendary, and like we've had the honor of playing there like I think 3 or 4 times now. Like Auto Bar is like the spot, but it's in Baltimore, so like we're kind of like not really in Baltimore, but like there's always good stuff going on in Baltimore.
It's the best venue in the
state. A lot
state.
of it's touring though.
Best venue in the state. I'll
be playing there in October with my other band, Shallow Seas, which is like a couple members from the original Humble Abode lineup, or one member. There's like that's a whole other story.
It's tough. It's kind of tough with the swancore post-hardcore genre, because I feel like everybody's very spread out. Like I'm trying to think, closest to Maryland is like, I guess, Pulses in Virginia. That's not very local.
And the homies in
you got Pulses in With Sales Ahead and like Roselia and I Met a Yeti and like they're like super scattered. So it's like, yeah, we love to, or like Lilac Kings and Not Nearly. It's like, yeah, like we love to play a show with you guys, but it's like, oh well, we got to drive like halfway across the country to set something up, and no one knows us out there. Like,
it's like every city on the East Coast has one post-hardcore band.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to set stuff up, which is why I think in part that's why we're our sound is expanding a little bit with the new stuff. So maybe it'll put us on bills with a little bit more of an expanded sound of array of sounds. Like we're totally open to playing with other genres. We've played with metalcore and like more mathy stuff. So we're down. And you have to be as a post-hardcore band because there's not a lot of us. So
for sure.
Yeah, we played a show. We opened up for Many Eyes, which is Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die's project. And then like there was another band, Gray Shape, who was also like very Every Time I Die, like hardcore-esque. And then we're like, all right, we have like 1 or 2 kind of heavy songs. We're like, yeah, we're down for those shows. Like, it's awesome. That's why we're like trying to write some heavier stuff, but also we'll have like, a good portfolio to be like, yeah, we're playing like a chiller show or we're playing, a heavier show. So, I think that's what's really fun about our genre too, is that like you can be pretty dynamic and like touch on a lot of different styles,
Oh yeah, and I know you brought up Strawberry Girls before. Something I guess like 5 or 6 years ago, I saw them open up for Veil of Maya. They were touring with them, so like
Yeah,
there's a lot of
That was sick.
possibilities.
absolutely.
But all right, I got two more questions. First one, we're talking about touring right now. If you could put together a I'm not going to go with like a dream bill for you guys to be on, but like maybe a realistic stretch goal in the near future. What are like 2 or 3 bands you guys would like to tour with?
I'd say our homies in Pittsburgh, Space Weather, and the homies in New Jersey with Sales Ahead. I think that'd be a pretty damn good bill. Let's do a little East Coast run.
Body Thief seems like an easy choice if we could roll with them somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it tight. I don't know. I want to say Dance Gavin Dance, but then you said keep it realistic. So
Hey, I'm pretty good friends with Andrew Wells, so
I would say, yeah, like we have direct homies in Body Thief and Macari, and by extension, a lot of like Birds, but that's a little more unrealistic. So, like, I would say, like, when you're touring, like, you're kind of on a road trip with friends, ideally. So, like, being on tour with like Body Thief or Macari / a lot of like Birds would be like a dream to be like, traveling with some great buds and also sick bands that I love watching every night. Yeah. Oh, also, I would say, if they end up touring close to us, Rosilia would be really sick because I haven't met all of them in person, but John is like the nicest dude ever and like an insanely good guitarist. And Daisy seems really cool. I haven't met Daisy yet in person, but yeah, I would say that would be a sick tour, like Humble Abode, Rosilia. I also have a little song I featured on with Rosilia. Maybe we could do a little performance of that, but yeah.
And I don't know, like I was thinking about, I really like Snooze.
First band I interviewed. We love Snooze over here.
Yeah, I mean, they have an awesome sound and really, really fucking cool riffs. Sincerely, they would be cool. Really like Sincerely, and I mean, a stretch might be like Hail the Sun. And I really do like kind of more mathy stuff. So, I mean, Covet would be incredible in whatever iteration. Especially if we go into like a more, I don't know, melodic and riffy kind of. I really like odd time signatures, and I like experimenting with sounds like Yvette does. I like music that makes you feel something, and Yvette's a lot of like her acoustic stuff has like made me sob. So I would love to make some music eventually with this band that is more emotional and more, touches people in that way. So I don't know, those are and Overcast also. I really like them. But just like that kind of sound would be dope. Yeah. But I'm down for anything. So it's not good to ask me.
knocked loose.
There we go.
Kelsey Grant or something, something really heavy, scary.
We gotta
Yeah.
write at least one deathcore song then, Kieran.
Karen?
Jackson with the blast beats.
I'll have to dedicate like I'll have to buy Leon a guitar that he can keep in C standard, so you guys can write a death metal song.
You do that, I'm all for it. Okay, get me something.
We know you at that point.
But okay, so last question. I always like to end these asking about the local delicacy and local foods of wherever the band resides. So if I come to wherever you guys are in Maryland, what is like the one restaurant, the one meal, the one whatever it is I would have to have before I leave?
Okay, 1 second. Got to deliberate about this. I love food. Can we bounce off each other? Obviously, crabs is like such an easy thing to say. 'Cause we're from
or Old
Maryland.
Bay, anything Old Bay.
Anything like just cover everything. Old Bay fries.
Unpopular
say
opinion. I actually don't like
Ekabin might
them.
be up there.
Ekuben is a
Yeah,
good
I
one.
was literally about to say Ecobin. That's like a big one. It's in Hampton. If you're ever around like the Baltimore area, they have some amazing like chicken sandwiches, and like the bun is like just so soft.
Mhm.
It's like
And that's the thing,
Korean
that's what they do.
inspired, like, well, like legit Korean, yeah, with like buns and like they also have vegan stuff, which is great too. But yeah, they have like insanely good food. Ekibin, like Ekiben. They're
This
also
is
in Camden Yards, the Oriole Stadium, which is really cool.
oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. But
Yeah, they have
my
some real
answer,
hype.
Pho Wheels. I love their food
Ooh, yeah,
truck.
they're nice.
They have a location down the street from me now. It is fantastic Vietnamese fusion food. They have a location in Burtonsville, and then I believe they have a DC location. But Pho Wheels, like incredible Vietnamese street fare. Mwah.
What's that pizza spot called by Ramshead Live? It's like Brickstone. No, fuck, I forget. But they have some of the best pizza in Baltimore.
What do you mean Underground Pizza UPC?
Underground, yes, Underground Pizza, right by Ramshead Live. Best pizza, in my opinion, best pizza in Baltimore.
Biriteca. I haven't even been there, but the amount of it's an Italian place in Baltimore. The amount of people that scream about Biriteca, apparently their olive oil ice cream, is incredible. Taharka Brothers, that's a
Yeah,
local ice cream from Baltimore, so we'll definitely check them out.
Nice. Well, thank you. I'll keep all those in mind. But with the last, minute or so, what would you like to shill so nicely to the audience?
Music soon. Keep on listening. And let us know where we should go.
Yeah,
yeah. Huge shout out to everybody that's checked us out, even just like giving us a like half a second listen, or just like commented on anything, just interacted. It means the world. And as a band that has the opportunity to make music and get together and have members like-minded, it's just a big privilege, and we thank everybody that's checked us out.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate you coming by. This was a great conversation, so thanks again.
Thank
Thanks
you
for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yo. Shout out to Humble Abode. Thank you so much for coming and chatting. Really appreciate it. Obviously, I love post-hardcore and the post-hardcore scene. Like, it's such an important part of music for me. It's so cool to get the chance to talk to so many of these great bands like Humble Abode. They're such great, kind people. I loved just not just hearing about like how they write and their philosophy of music, but just kind of watch them bounce off each other. I thought that was really cool. They like very complimentary group of people. I'm really looking forward to their new music. I love when like a band welcomes a few new members and then get like new sounds, and I think this is going to be a really, really great upcoming album. I'm really excited for it. They're one of the bands that I'm like really, really looking forward to releasing music. So shout out to them. Thank you guys for stopping by. If you make it this far, like, subscribe, comment, and if you're in a band, like, DM me on Instagram.